Hey, I'm Courtney Waterman, your tutor. Lover of anime, manga, and math. And you just tuned into another session of Tutor Me Senpai. Welcome back, everyone. Today we're jumping into a fourth grade topic, simplifying fractions. As always, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them in the comment box below. But if you have questions about your own homework, feel free to visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Senpai and tell me about it there. When you find this video helpful, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. But without further ado, let's talk a little bit more about simplifying fractions. So the key to simplifying fractions actually is being able to find factors. If you're able to find a number's factors, then simplifying fractions will be a lot simpler. Now, what do I mean by factors? Well, factors are just those numbers that when you multiply them together, you get another number. For example, 6. What numbers, when you multiply them together, give you 6? Well, that would be 2 times 3. Well, that means 2 and 3 are 6's factors. Likewise, 6 times 1. 6 and 1 are 6's factors. Numbers that you use to multiply together to give you another number are called factors. As you see, being able to find factors depends heavily on being able to multiply. So if you're familiar with multiplication, then you should be able to find your factors, which will make simplifying fractions much simpler. So let's start with this fraction here. We're going to use factors in order to simplify it. Now, what do I mean by simplifying a fraction? Well, that just means that we're going to find an equivalent fraction that has smaller numbers than what you see here. If you saw my first video on understanding fractions, you will have seen that an equivalent fraction is really another fraction with the same value. So we're going to find a same value fraction, but smaller numbers. So the first step we want to do is to rewrite our top and bottom with a times 1. Now we know that multiplying by 1 doesn't change a number's value, but we need this here, potentially need this here for a later step. So I'm putting it here just in case we need it. So the next step is to find the factors of the bigger number. As you see, 8 is going to be our bigger number here because it's bigger than 4. So we're going to start here, find its factors, and put it off to the side. It doesn't have to be part of the equation here, our math here. We're going to use it later. So find its factors and put it to the side. And you might be wondering, why are we starting with the bigger number? I'll get to that in just a moment. After you find its factors, we're going to rewrite this fraction using our found factors. So this 4 times 1 doesn't change. We haven't done anything with it. But this bottom part, instead of this 8 here, we're going to use the factors we found. So it's going to be 4 times 2, and we're going to keep the times 1. That's going to play a role later. We'll get to that in just a moment. So now our fraction looks like 4 times 1 over 4 times 2 times 1. The next step is see which factors are in common with the top and the bottom, besides 1. We're going to ignore 1. And the reason we ignore 1 is there's always a 1. You can never get rid of a 1. So we're going to ignore it. So are there any other factors that are in both the top and the bottom? Yes. We have this 4 here. And that's why we had to start with the 8, because if we were to find the factors of 4, we might not have seen that and we would have done more work. So by starting with the bigger number, you can potentially cut down on how much work you have to do. It doesn't always work out that way, but in case that it does, it could save you a couple minutes. So now that we see that 4 is in common, let's cross out what's in common. Like I said, we're going to ignore 1s, but everything else that's in common, we're going to cross it out. The next step is we're going to multiply whatever's left. So here on the top, we only have a 1. We don't have anything else to multiply, so we're going to rewrite that as 1. In the bottom, our denominator, we have a 2 times 1. So we're going to multiply that together to give us 2. And this is why I said, let's put a 1 here, because in the event that the number in the top cancels out with something on the bottom, we want to have a number left over. And if you don't remember that there's always a 1, that can trip you up. So let's put the 1 there for our purposes so we know that if anything goes away, we have at least a 1 here. It reminds us that there's always a 1 present. So we stopped a little bit early because we found that the top and the bottom had something in common. We didn't even have to find the factors of the top. We stopped a little bit early because we didn't need to go any further. But there are some situations where you will have to find the factors of both the top and the bottom. This fraction, 6/8, we're going to start the same way. We're going to do 6 times 1 and 8 times 1. Once again, we don't necessarily know if we're going to use this 1 here, but we're going to put it there just in case. So let's start with the bigger number. 8 is also the bigger number here, so we're going to find its factors again. And we found it to be 4 times 2, just like last time. So we're going to rewrite this as 6 times 1 over 4 times 2 times 1. Now let's look to see if there's anything in common besides 1 in both the top and the bottom. As you see, there's nothing in common here. So we have to go a little bit further. We're going to have to find the factors of the top this time. And the factor of the top is going to be 3 times 2. So we're going to rewrite this fraction again using the factors of the top this time. So this becomes 3 times 2 times 1 over 4 times 2 times 1. Now, do we have any factors that are in common? Yes. Besides 1, we have a 2, so let's cross those out. After we cross out everything in common, let's multiply whatever's left. So we have a 3 times 1, which gives us 3. And we have a 4 times 1, which gives us 4. So the answer for this one, after we simplify it, is going to be 3/4. So in this example, you see that we have to find both the top and the bottom. Whereas last example, we only had to do the bottom because the factor in the bottom actually existed already in the top. But there's another case that you have to be aware of. There might be times where you have to find a factor of a factor. So let's look at this question. 12/16. Let's start the same way. 12 times 1 over 16 times 1. Now let's find the factors of the bigger number, which is going to be 16 this time. So 16 is going to be 8 times 2. So we're going to rewrite this as 12 times 1 over 8 times 2 times 1. Do we have anything in common besides 1 in both the top and the bottom? No. So we're going to have to find the factors of the top now. So 12 is going to be 6 times 2. So we're going to rewrite this as 6 times 2 times 1 over 8 times 2 times 1. Now, do we have anything in common? Yes, there's 2. So let's multiply everything that we have left and see what we get. So 6 times 1 gives us 6, and 8 times 1 gives us 8. Now you might say, hey, I'm done. Just like before, I did my stuff, top and bottom, and I reduced it. Yes, you have simplified it, but this is something that we call not in our simplest form. We have to get it in our simplest form a lot of times, which means that we can't reduce it anymore. From our last example, we already reduced this. If you remember, we had 6/8 before and we broke it down to something else. This is when we have to find a factor of our factor. Both 6 and 8 have factors that we can find. So we will have to find 8 and 6 and do it again. 3 times 2, 4 times 2, and then we rewrite this as 3 times 2 times 1, 4 times 2 times 1. So now we see we can cancel another 2, which leaves us with 3/4, just like last time. So when you find yourself with something that's not fully reduced, you can just do everything all over again. Start with the very first step of timesing everything by 1, find its factors, and then try to simplify it again. When you can't reduce a fraction anymore into smaller numbers, we call that a fraction in its simplest form. So just keep an eye out. If you do have factors that look like they can be broken down a little bit more, you might want to do that. So I hope you're able to follow with today's examples. Now remember, if you have any questions whatsoever, feel free to put them in the comment box below. I'd love to be able to help you as much as I can. If you have any questions about your own homework that I see on this channel, remember you can visit me on Facebook at Tutor Me Sempai and tell me all about it there. If you haven't done so already, remember to leave a like, hit the notification bell, smash the subscribe button, and share this video with a friend. Well, that's all the time I have for today. I really hope this helped with your homework, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again next week. I'm Courtney, and this has been another session of Tutor Me Sempai.